So we've come to the magic, if you will. Take us away, Fern. I'm talking too much.
Yeah, for sure. So this has been rearranged many times, and it's going to get a slight rearrangement again by the end of the year. But a couple key things. If you look around the space, you'll see, we'll talk storage here in a minute, but immediately when people come in, Jay was talking about this earlier, the check-in area here. So these tables are custom made, so they have our logo on them. I don't know if you can see that, but they have our logo on them. And then the computers is where people check in. So they'll check in here. Coffee. This is people's old T-shirts that we have still have to give them out. But again, it's just like somewhere where like people can come in because I think every gym should have a holding area, like a stables, if you will, like where they just, hey, I'm gonna go here until class starts, and then or I might go over on the other side do mobility, which we'll get to in a minute. But like there should be something where like, hey, wait here until class starts. Otherwise, people start wandering around randomly and they get
it's like the on deck circle.
Right.
Like you don't have to wait in the lobby.
Right.
You're on deck for the next class.
Yeah. So people are typically here, sometimes in the lobby or in the locker rooms, or occasionally just like hanging out on the corner. But like there should be some sort of like kind of corral, if you will, like prior to class.
Let's throw out a couple cool things. First aid AED. I think that's really important for boxes these days. I love this. You show up, you can charge your phone. It also gives people a place to put their phone out of the way. 3 nitro we've spoken about. You said sometimes it's tea or kombucha in there, but really cool. And again, notice the scan code, notice wheel pay, and you got the seating area. There's something else I wanted to show. Oh, that ambassador wall. This is a little peek behind the curtains, but something we help affiliate you clients with. This is vital. These are your Sherpas. You go through the onboarding program, and then after you go to onboarding, you're still very intimidated, very afraid of going to your first class. Well, I see these 7. It's relative to how many members you have. We typically say like 4, maybe 6 on the high end. Fern's got a much bigger, very successful box here. So she's got 7, hey, I'm gonna be at the 5 a.m. It's my first class. I'm super intimidated. Don't worry. Nelly Martinez is gonna be there and she's gonna show you around. So,
little insight on her. She is our longest standing member. She's been here for more than 10 years.
10 years? How many times has she been ambassador?
Officially, just once.
Yeah, and that's typically what we say. About 6 months, they've seen a handful of people, and if you do this really well, your other members are like, can I be an ambassador soon? So it's really cool. Also, the towels, if you listen to the podcast, I did wash them. I did not fold them. But we bypassed a few things, Fern.
What?
No, everything. We're bypassing everything. RX Smart Gear, shout out to them. This is the only set of jump ropes I recommend boxes buying. A, because they tend to last longer, but they're also color coded so they don't become a shit show and they get organized again. Katie, you pointed this out. Fern, you want to tell us about it?
So this is the most kind of ergonomic means of storing your bikes. So if these were all turned straight and they were lined up right next to each other, getting them in and out would be a nightmare. But if you notice, like I can get these in and out. Like I can take out that middle one with no issues and then slide it right back in. So you're gonna take these and set them up pretty much like you would parking spaces in a parking garage. If you just turn them at 45, but everyone has a home. This person here was a turd and didn't actually put theirs back. This is like Jay. Jay probably took this bike out and was just like, close enough is good enough.
Katie used that one.
However, if you give everything a home, things tend to go back in their place. Just like all of the plates, they're all color coded, just like that. And this is actually the best means of storing your plates if you want to get the longest lifespan out of them.
Meaning what?
Meaning they will all get equal turnover if you store them this way. If you store them, so if you go back and watch the dropping in episode that we did at Hammer Driven Fitness, and a lot of boxes do this, they'll stand them on those uprights, and what happens is the bottom ones never get used, so the top half of them will get broken twice as fast. So like the 45s on here, you could technically put 4 on there, it'd be a little sketch, but 3 fit on there perfectly, and they'll get the exact amount of turnover, and they'll switch pins, so they'll get moved around, but you will get immensely longer lifespan if you store them like this. And going back to what we talked about on the podcast the other day, things are off of the floor. You try to keep things off of the floor if at all possible.
And you can use those other racks, but you have to be rotating them, like Fern said. That's true. And because you don't have a ton on there, it's unlikely someone's not going to use 3 or 4 45s even.
It's
so
impossible.
I mean,
it's impossible because if you're going to do 225, you would need to use this whole pin and then grab one off of there. And the other thing I think every gym should have, as long as you can fit them on, is these adjustable pull-up bars. This is one of the best purchases. Rogue makes these one of the best purchases I ever made.
Say functional fitness movement supplier until Rogue sponsors us.
Until they sponsor us. So, because you can use these for jumping pull-ups, you can use them for jumping muscle-ups, you can use them for
short stature division.
Short stature division. You can use them for straight bar rows. They have so much utility, but the biggest thing that makes those so beneficial is you don't have to get people up on a box and introduce a safety issue really with their.
And notice how clean it is. They're all the exact same height. Like that's not an accident, people. Cool other things. Chains probably don't get used a ton, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's very fun to have and throw out there.
Phil on the weightlifting side has been playing around with them a lot, so they're getting used a little bit more. But again, figure out a way to store things cleanly is the point.
These are great for scaling rope climbs. We've talked about this before. Did you make these or did you buy these ones?
No, Rogue sells these. These are I believe
functional fitness movement supplier.
Yes, functional fitness movement supplier. This is I think this is the 6 foot variation.
Yeah, and it's important that it doesn't touch the ground because that's how people break their ankle. But
well, they don't need to. So like I would just need it to be essentially 1 arm's length away from the floor, so I can lower myself to the floor and do rope subs and then come back up.
Very cool. Let's continue to walk around. Again, we've been here for 2 days, but we haven't looked at it with this eagle eye. So I'm just trying to throw stuff out. I love the stall mats. I've never actually seen interlocking stall mats.
They're a little bit more expensive, but yeah.
That's probably why I haven't seen them. Send me your cheapest stall mats. Landmine, pretty cool. What do you, obviously for some sort of Russian twist, but anything else you use it for?
You can use them for a lot of overhead work, stuff like that. People who struggle for full range of motion, landmine presses are a great substitute for people who struggle at the kind of like end ranges for mobility.
And we talked about that on the show, right? Don't buy things unless you can program it for your class, but something like this is helping that you're not going to probably have multiple people in every class that need shoulder subs, or you're doing something wrong and hurting people, but having one of everything to scale is really valuable. Rowers off the floor, we don't need to dig into this other than you did that yourself.
Correct.
So you don't have to buy the Rogue stores. Those are like $2 each at Home Depot, right?
Yeah,
so easy thing. You got some sleds back here. The parallettes are off the wall. You've got the same thing going on with the I mean, look how many bikes there are. 4, 8.
It's 13 total.
13 bikes. They all have their spot. Parallettes. The timer's hooked to the iPad over on the other side of the room. But that iPad actually controls all the timers, right?
Well, you can run them together, or so I think it's Gym Next. Yeah, it's up there. Gym Next. So they're Wi-Fi enabled. So we smashed enough remotes where I was like, enough is enough. So we got rid of them, and I got these from CrossFit downtown Atlanta because he uses them there. We do seminars a lot. He's also an affiliate of you, but
Mike, shout out to Mike.
Yeah, shout out to Mike. But we use those so I can run those blocks separately, or I can run them together, and they have any timing design you want on them.
That's awesome. Yeah, so many remotes get smashed. I think this is super important. People buy rings and leave them on the rig. This is like we talked about on the show. You use these every 10 days? Maybe. Yeah. People scale pull-ups, of course. Go grab a set of rings. But if you just leave them on the rig permanently, they look like a mess. They become a mess, and you don't use them often enough to keep them out. More sleds over there.
No, those are actually pulling
things.
So you basically put those over and they go on so that they go with pulling blocks. So you put those in place.
Oh, very cool. So, I don't know what you just said. That sounds cool. You said you have 2 GHDs, right?
Yeah, there's only one.
So we got GHD over there. Again, super valuable, but like we said, maybe you don't program it to your class, but you want to have them. A ton of ski ergs. Katie and I actually use the ski ergs in our workout today. That fan is powerful, big ass fan. I like it too. You can buy the big one that rolls around, but that one stays off the floor. steers, high rings that are out of the way, but that way you don't have to worry about it when you do muscle ups. More rowers on the wall. What do you use the matting for?
Handstand push-ups, sit-ups, other stuff like that.
Out of the way, bands, belts. Do you have one setup of crossover symmetry, or is there more?
No, there's more other inside the other side too.
But it's still good to have it out here for people to use it, because you probably use it for scaling too at times.
Sometimes.
Anything else in the area? I love how clean the ropes are.
Not the ceiling, the ropes.
The ceiling you talked about on the show, you're going to paint that. And also, if we give you any ideas during this tour, please let us know. Feel free to tag us. If you say, oh, that was a great idea I caught from CrossFit Rife, tag us, email us, let us know what stuff you like. What else you got for us?
Storage of the little things. Come over here. Storage of the little things is super important. So these are things that typically get shoved in a box or a corner. So some of this stuff you can buy from Rogue, but some of it I had people make, right? So if you come over here to this corner, all the ab mats. So I had a guy make all of these. So all the ab mats are stored in here, and he cut our logo in there too. But that's mounted on the wall. All the foam rollers mounted on the wall. Don't buy the 30-inch foam rollers. Buy the short ones. You can have twice as many in the same amount of space when you do that. Because if you do it the other way, you only have 9. But now I have 18 in here is when that's set up. Matadors. So for dips, not everybody can do ring dips. So we have 5 of these, and we regularly use all 5 of them. Storage of things like collars. You can buy all this stuff on Rogue. So that way they're not just thrown in a bucket. The collars are gonna break, but you can store them very, very cleanly that way.
Also, with your dips, again, this is handmade.
Right.
So you because sometimes the storage piece, like those Rogue storage for those.
No, you can just buy these from like Home Depot.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great. Rogue obviously does a great job, but it's significantly more expensive.
The benches are hung up over there too. So like you can use that hanging device for benches and rowers. So it's the same amount.
So why'd you go with those for the benches but not for the rowers?
Because I bought those later. I had already mounted all of those, and then I just bought those.
Yeah, it gets to be a point in your box ownership where you can afford it.
Well, there's just way less measuring for that. So when you have multiple people, like it gets a little weird. But
cool stuff with the wall balls. How do you access the ones behind it?
You typically don't have to get up to the top, but this is bolted to the floor, so if I did need to get up there, I would just pull that out.
And then if anything else, just reach
Yeah, just reach in the back. Yeah, so there's 50, well, there's not right now, but because I still have a couple that are checked out, but that holds 50 wall balls. So.
And we found the boxes. We talked about this on the podcast, but I love the soft boxes. Like you said, you still have a couple wooden sandbags that you can use during class. Also, you can sit on them.
Yeah. And admittedly, a lot of the stuff in the gym looks like shit right now because it's typically what it looks like by Sunday, by the end of the week. But we clean everything. Everything will get tucked back into its place, and then we have to reset everything every single week when he comes back.
We also weren't planning on doing this,
yeah.
so it's still
this
really
stuff,
clean.
For anybody who's like, it's dirty, I'm like, yes, it's dirty, and it's giving me anxiety. But this is always rectified. And it typically gets done a couple times, but like Saturdays is usually packed in here. So typically by Saturday afternoon, the gym looks like a hot mess. And this is why we do like a deep cleaning. Essentially every Sunday we do a deep cleaning at the gym.
Why don't you have 9-foot targets?
Equality.
Do you make women go to 10 feet?
Yeah.
For real?
Just use a lighter wall ball.
Because Katie was struggling.
Just use a lighter wall ball.
She used a 14-pounder, but let me tell you,
no. Realistically, we didn't do those just because when we bought those, we didn't set them up that way. We do have people throw to a lower target on the walls, but for these, if you've never shot a wall ball to a wall ball target, it is significantly more difficult.
So much worse. And really, like you said, there's nothing wrong with going to 10 feet. I also assume those are probably out, and you probably bought them before the double target came out.
For sure. Yeah. Those are several years old.
Come on over here. I love this, even though it's not being used.
We're getting rid of it.
You're getting rid of it?
Yep.
I think this is a good idea. I mean, because of the QR code, is that why you're getting rid of them?
No, it's
But I tell people, like, if you could do this, because you can throw all of your stuff in there, even T-shirts fit in this, but you can have sample protein, you can have jump ropes, you can have the keto cookies, you can put gift cards in there. I mean, having the vending machine that allows you to use anything and with this credit card swiper, I like it, but why are you getting rid of it?
We're getting rid of it because the fees associated with it once you move to something like, so for two reasons. Number one, security on point of sale, obviously, and then people have to pay to get things. Now, I don't need that anymore, so if you move to something like Wheel Pay where I can avoid merchant fees. So on this one, you're gonna get dinged with a merchant fee and a singular transaction fee off of the system, so it ends up sucking up a lot of your margin. So we're just gonna sell it. But it was good for years. I mean, we would do anywhere between $300 to $1,000 of small items in there every single month. But then when you look at like what's my return on it, it could be way better for, you know, the $3.50 items, stuff like that.
Well, that and Wheel Pay
takes care of all
solves
that.
that for a lot of people. All right.